lift my hands and why I lift my voice. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Time of Reflection show. I am your host, Anita Ansah. How is everyone doing? I hope you're doing wonderful by the grace of God. It's been 2 weeks already, and I miss you all. I know last 2 weeks we had a wonderful, wonderful show with all the wonderful gentlemen that graced this platform, that graced the Faith Broadcasters Network. So, welcome once again to the Faith Broadcasters Network. This is your number one Christian contemporary network on this or any other planet. So please, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel or our Facebook, what are you waiting for? Please do me a flavor. Please do me a favor. Click that button, that like button, share, share, share. Because on this platform, on Faith Broadcasters Network, we have variety of shows that will just bless your soul, your spirit, and your body as well. And today is no different. So today on the Time of Reflection show, we are going to talk about 21st century relationship, or relationship in the 21st century, women's edition. I am so excited. Last 2 weeks, it was the men's edition. And today I said, you know what? If the men can speak their mind, if they can come on the show and talk the talk, then let me invite some wonderful ladies to come on and just share about 21st century relationships. So I searched all over. I went to the US. Well, I am in the US. I went to Ghana. I went to London, and I picked some of the most wonderful ladies to come and have this conversation with. And I'm so honored that they are on this platform tonight. So without any further delay, ladies, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Time of Reflection show. Welcome, welcome. So if we can show the wonderful ladies, that would be great. Welcome to the Time of Reflection show. Yes, yes, welcome. So we have Lady Krystyl. I'm just gonna let them go around and introduce themselves. So we have Lady Krystyl, and we have Miss Anna, and Sister Portia, and then yes, look who appeared. Wonderful, wonderful Lady Cessina. So we're just gonna go around. Please introduce yourself. Tell them where you flew all the way from to join us at the New York studios on the Faith Broadcasters Network, and just tell them something funny or something important about yourself. So please, Lady K, you can begin.
Hello, everyone from everywhere in the world, because I find that we are now becoming international. We are everywhere. And I'm blessed to be on this platform. I thank you again, Pastor Anita, and the Faith Broadcaster team for having me. I am a life and leadership coach, and a lover of Christ, but that's not what I really wanted to say. Even though I am a lover of Christ. Um, Funny thing, wow, I'm not that funny, so I don't know. Like funny, I don't know. You got to circle back, come back to me. I'll think about something.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So, Anna, you want to go next, please?
Yeah, so my name is Anna, Annalisa OFORI. I'm a student. I study psychology and counseling. I'm a lover of Christ. I am a small minister, nothing too major. And I'm really excited to have beautiful women to discuss about relationships in the 21st century.
Thank you so much, Anna. So yes, Lady Portia, you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name is Moshe Dumensa, and yes, I'm from Ghana, and I came to UK for the COP26. I'm a climate activist, a Sunday school teacher, and I really am passionate about children, and basically I am all out for Christ, and I believe in the truth about Christ.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wow. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us tonight. So let's go straight into the conversation. Lady Cessina can come and join us later, but let's go straight into the conversation. So we are talking about 21st century relationships and or relationship in the 21st century. And my first question is that relationship has now, right, as young women, relationship has now become an accessory, for lack of better words, an accessory that everyone wants to wear. You turn to the left, right, everyone wants to be in a relationship because they feel like, well, many people have so many different reasons as to why they get into relationships. From your perspective, what are some of the reasons why young people desire to go into relationship? So I guess Lady K, what are
Why do you
some?
do this to me? I'm trying to share our stuff. Okay. Okay. Why do I feel like young people want to wear this? I don't think it's just limited to young people. I feel like relationship is a part of what like humanity. This is like what humanity has even been made of. Like this is the point of it. When you think about us as believers, the whole foundation of being a believer is found on relationship. And so I think it's I mean, I don't find it shocking that we want to be in relationships, that we want companionship, that we want partnership, that we want not to necessarily feel alone. I think what the problem is sometimes is that I guess we don't really assess the motive behind why we want to be in relationships, because sometimes we, as young people, and even as older people, they think that relationships will solve the problems or fill a void of some particular thing. So, I mean, I don't think it's just young people who are desiring to be in relationships, but I do think that relationships in general for the believer is very important, but sometimes the motive behind it is not necessarily the most righteous.
Wow. I already know where this conversation is going. So please, viewers, make sure you share this broadcast so that somebody else will be blessed by it. Okay. And if you come on, if you have any questions, please comment, like, ask your questions, and I will make sure that I ask the question throughout this discussion. So yes, what are some of the reasons why okay, so now let's not say young people, but why, what are some of the reasons why women or ladies want to get into relationship? I know Krystyl spoke about motive, and that is very, very true. What are some of the other reasons why we want to get into relationships? So Cessna, you want to go?
So the question is, what are some of the reasons why people want to get into relationships?
Oh yes, and before you answer, Cessna, if you can introduce yourself and just tell them something special about you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Cessina GYAMFI. I have a women's ministry that goes by the name of Precious Gems. I am a worship leader at Honeywell Worship Center, which is also the church that I attend, under the leadership of Reverend Cephas Kafui. And I guess a fun fact about me is that I'm really funny.
Okay.
Okay.
That was
Okay.
funny, but we thank God. So yes, if you can tell us, tell us what are some of the reasons why people want to be young people or even women in general want to be in relationships.
I mean, for starters, I will say that relationships, any form of relationship is good. I think it is said in one of the studies, one of the psychological studies that I learned back in school, that I think it's 5 or 7 essential needs of a human being. A part of it is the desire to feel a sense of belonging. And I think God has placed the desire within each and every one of us because it is not good for any one of us to be alone. So I think that young women especially want to be in relationship because number one, we like to feel, well, not necessarily we, but
I think it's human nature to want to feel this sense of belonging, to want to feel like you're important to someone, to want to feel loved and be loved. For an example, we every month we go through, our menstrual and things like that, and around that time, you will find that you're very emotional and you just want to be pampered and receive love and whatnot. But all joke aside, getting into the serious aspect of it, I would say that there are many reasons. One being like maybe you weren't loved growing up, maybe you dealt with rejection, or you didn't have like a good relationship with your father or your mom, or things like that. So there are many reasons. And then obviously the most obvious was just like marriage, because every young woman wants to be married and potentially start a
Every young
family.
woman wants to be married.
And well, not every, but most young women, excuse me, want to be married and then potentially start a family and become a mother.
Right.
Interesting. So I will piggyback off of, and I'm going to ask a question off of that in terms of the marriage. Do you feel, because one of the relationship is definitely leading to marriage, dating, courtship, leading to marriage. Do you think as a young person or as a woman, do you feel like there is pressure on you? And I'm going to ask Anna and Portia this question. Do you feel like there is pressure on young people, um, or even yourself, to get married, whether it is pressure from your parents or sometimes pressure from our own pastors or even pressure from our friends, because we see that, other people are getting married, other people are in relationships. Do you feel like there is pressure on society as young people or even as women to get married? And if so, what are some of the pressures? So Anna, you want to go? Or Portia, one of you can.
Well, what a question. Is there pressure? As we've um, we've evolved as a society where marriage accomplishment, where you to kind of be ticked off as a person that has achieved something, you need to be a married person. And I feel like it's especially within the church, it's kind of unheard of that you would be 32 and you're not married as a female. It's kind of frowned upon because it's said that everybody needs a companion, and it was not good for Adam to be alone, so he made them a helpmate. But then again, we fail to realize that there are also people in the Bible that never married. So the pressures are from society in general. Like, I'm going to drift to the first question a little bit. Pressures from society tells us that social media is telling us that marriage is what's going, it's the going rate right now. Um, it's showing you that Valentine's Day, if you're not married, if you're not in a relationship, you're not among the living. You're not among the living. You're kind of casted aside. And, you've been told that you need to get married, and the pressures are starting to
Yeah, Anna, I think you're, for some reason it's
starting
difficult
to
to hear you.
get to people to the extent where people are
Anna, can you hear
getting
me?
married for
Oh,
the
is it on my
wrong
end, or can you guys also hear the
reasons. They
the echo?
get
No, it's
The
freaking
marriage
It's breaking,
because
right?
really badly.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, London, London
married
connection.
because they don't want their biological clock.
Yeah, Anna, I think it's, your line is really breaking, so it's difficult to hear you.
But maybe
I don't think she can. Okay, so man, I was really enjoying Anna's discussion on this topic. I know she did say something about biological clock ticking. She also mentioned in reference of, it is looked down upon for you to be 32 as a female in the church and you're not married. So there's so many factors as to, and then she also made mention of, the famous scripture that we all say, it is not good for, God told Adam, it is not good for a man to be alone. So obviously that is a reason why a lot of people want to get into relationships. Hopefully, we can work on her network and then she can join us soon. But Krystyl and Cessina, do you feel like there is pressure on you to get married? And if so, where do you think the pressure is coming from? And if not, how are you able, even in the society where I know you see so many friends getting married, how are you able to not allow that pressure to sway you from maybe the plans that you have for yourself? So Cessna, Krystyl.
Oh, I was gonna suggest Krista to go first. I mean, for starters, being coming from Ghana, our parents grew up as
All right, I'm not sure what just happened, but Lady K, do you want to proceed, and then do you feel like there's pressure on women to get married, and especially you as well? Do you feel like your biological clock is ticking? Is there pressure on you as a leader in the church? Do you feel like, there is a certain way that people look at you because you're not married? Yes, so if you can share your experience.
Sure. What I'll say is that personally, I don't have or I'm not experiencing the pressures of marriage. But I will say that the community that I'm currently in, I want to say like the Ghanaian community, for example, I do feel like I'm not Ghanaian. I'm West Indian. So I'm saying it from my own experience and my perspective. So I want to say that I personally don't feel the pressure. I personally don't feel that because I'm in my 30s, I need to get married right now, like this second. Do I desire marriage? Absolutely. But I desire purposeful marriage, not marriage just to say that I'm married. However, though, I feel like I want to say not even just Ghanaian, but I want to say in the African community, as I am actually exposed to not just the Ghanaians and not just the Nigerians, but I do feel like sometimes young women are not as respected as a single, like you said, being a leader in the church, for example, or, what I do, I'm capable of doing is not really, I want to say, honored and respected as much as what I've witnessed younger people who are married and are doing similar to what I'm doing, or excuse me to say, like not as much as I'm doing, but they are considered more like relevant and more important, and I get pushed back sometimes. I get that pushback literally as in resistance, and I also get pushed to the back sometimes in that community. And it is uncomfortable because as a West Indian, um, I'm not gonna say marriage is not as important, but marriage is not necessarily always a pressure in your, like, let's say in your early 20s. It could be a good thing and a bad thing sometimes, because when you are ready to get married, they may sometimes give you pushback, like, are you ready? You can't do this. You're not ready to do this, because their idea of marriage as a woman is that you should know how to cook, clean, and like be a housewife pretty much sometimes. But West Indian women are also very much hard workers, like very, 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 very working women. So there's always that conflict, like that establishment as well. Like the young West Indian woman wants to be financially stable. Like the young West Indian woman worries more about what the typical man will be worried about, because she was brought up in a household that tells you that nothing is guaranteed. Make sure that you have yourself set up and established and stable before you go and put yourself as a dead weight on a man. Right. And so let's just say you don't have it all together by the time you're 32, like our sister Anna was bringing up. They're not forcing you into it. When they start to see that you're established and they start to see that you are doing good things in life, and you finish school or you got your life in order, then they might start asking you, so when you want to have children, and when you want to, do you don't have a boyfriend, you don't have anybody, they start inquiring. But to say that, like, my parents, like my mom wants children more than she wants me to get married, I don't know, like sometimes it seems like that. I'm like, mom, find me the husband. She's like, listen, like, I want my grandchildren, I want to live to see my grandchildren. My dad is like, oh, I trust your judgment whenever you feel ready. So the pressures personally on, like, from myself, no, because I really, 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 really desire the perfect will of God. I really, really desire a purposeful marriage, not just to have somebody on my arm or for me to be on somebody's arm to say, hey, we're married, and then what? So that's just what I was saying.
That is that is very interesting. Thank you for bringing that up. So welcome back, Anna and Portia. I
Hi
know
guys.
Cessna was saying something earlier. So Cessna, do you want to proceed in terms of the pressure for people to get married, and if you experience that?
Yes, definitely. It's quite the opposite of what Crystal just experienced. So I've reached the age where I went from you can't have a boyfriend to when is your wedding? It happened so quick, and I'm so confused. Like, just yesterday, I couldn't be in a relationship. But I say this to say that I believe what I was saying earlier is that, especially coming from a Ghanaian background where our parents grew up and they got married very early, and back then, excuse me to say, it seems that marriage was the thing that brought women glory. Um, I am now receiving the pressure now from my parents where it's more like, okay, so are you dating anyone? Listen, hurry up and get married and have kids because you're a woman. You see, as a woman, you need to finish school by this time so that by this time you're married and by this time you're doing this. So coming from a place where I never have the pressure to this particular age where every single day I'm hearing, when are you getting married? When are you getting married? I would say that it's there. And the reason can be because of like tradition or my cultural background, or simply because I'm a woman, and Ghanaian parents, excuse me to say, are used to the 19th or the 20th century woman, and not the 21st century woman who, excuse me to say, is educated as a boss woman, can fend for themselves, can think for themselves, doesn't necessarily want to be an ideal housewife, but if they did, it would be a plus and not just a necessity. You know what I mean? So that's the little I want to say.
Wow. There is so much in what you said that I want to dissect, but that is very, very interesting. So you see being a housewife as a necessity, like it's like a plus, right? It's not from a 21st century woman. And we are talking about a 21st century woman because maybe the mindset of our forefathers and our parents before, now we are in the 21st century. So we do have to take into consideration how things have evolved and how things have changed. So my question, and maybe Anna and Portia can answer this, but what do you think the 21st century man expects from a 21st century woman as a wife?
You want to go first?
Okay, so basically now it's more about what you, the woman, aspire to be and what you can do as a woman. Basically, in this 21st century day, woman is expected to be able to be appreciative and supportive. It's unlike the previous years whereby a woman has to sit at home. Now we are given the opportunity to school and have the opportunity to explore. And you realize that out of this, you have a lot to do, but
Yeah.
the man that you are going in for must understand you for who you are, and that will solve whatever that you want to do, because everybody can say whatever they want, but if you have a man that understands you, it is best for you to also have that advantage over everything else that's happening around you. So the 21st century woman is always ready to move and explore, but the man is one of the key persons you have to consider to be at par with. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Anna, do you want to add to it?
Yeah, I feel like the 21st century woman, the 20th century man was not expecting this. We've evolved quite considerably. We are highly educated. We are more independent. We have a mind of our own. We have opinions. We can voice them. Um, in that being said, the 20th century man may look at a 21st century woman and say she's not a submissive person. That's a whole topic of. The 21st century woman is a woman that has vision. She's a woman of purpose. She is a woman that has been sent to go out and do extra, to do more, to push for hers, to push for his, to push for ours. She's not confined to a house with a broom and soap. She's not confined to a house with a broom and soap. She is a lot more than a 20th century man would have ever thought of. So it's a very interesting time that we're in. We're in a time where the men feel like women in the 21st century cannot be controlled. And then we're also in a time where women in the 21st century feel like we shouldn't be living in the 20th century and therefore no man can control us. So it's a very tricky balance that we have right now. So that's what I would like to add.
Wow, wow, wow. I am loving this conversation, but it looks like we have so many comments coming in, and I'm going to read some of them because one of the things I've realized is that the men are very intimidated by the 21st century women, and I
Yes.
don't
Oh,
understand. Cessna said
Very
yes, and
so.
I don't understand if it's because of the education, the fact that we are more independent, the fact that, there's nothing wrong with holding a broom because as a woman, you have to be able to do both and balance, and do it with love and with courage and with boldness. But I think how far is too far? How much of
mm,
independence is too much? How much of
mm,
I know my rights is too much? Because the biblical concept of marriage still remains. So, how do you balance that and still be that 21st century woman? Because yes, the years evolve, right? Womanhood revolve, but the word of God remains the same. So I think the
the
challenge
same.
that
Yes.
this generation have is how do you balance both and still maintain your identity, still maintain your purpose, and not get lost in somebody else's purpose because you cannot hold your own. So
Ooh, you
let's go
talking
to
good. Woo!
Very true. But you know, Pastor Anita, what I
yes,
want to say is mostly, especially a
go ahead.
Christian woman, mostly knows her boundaries on where she can go and what she can't do and all this kind of stuff. But I feel like our men, our Christian men, find it hard to grasp their heads around it because they're
Mm,
so fixated on this submission, 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 submission,
And being
submission.
the head.
They don't know how far is too far, as you said, and they're coming up with so many different schemes to cause their wives to kind of, should I say, bow? So many different
mm,
schemes to cause their wives to slow down, you know.
mm,
But I really believe that a man of God should be confident in the wife that the Lord has given him. That he should be confident
mm.
that the wife will be able to submit to his authority, but still be able to, catch a daily bread, bring it home,
Wow.
and,
That is
you know,
that is good.
sustain
And
the
I know
home.
when Anna is talking about a man of God, she's not making reference to people behind the pulpit or people with ministry, but she's making reference to every man who is a child of God, right? So now you're a
God,
man of
yes.
God in a sense. So that's what she's making reference. So please don't say, well, I don't have the Bible, I'm not called, so it's not my duty to do that. So definitely, let me read. Oh my God, the audience. Okay, so I don't know where to start from. So Linda, yes, Pastor Linda, I miss you too. Thank you so much. I was styled by all my wonderful guests on this platform. So thank you. I knew they were coming, so I know I had to give my best. So yes, let's continue. Esmond said, I'm typing my question. Of course, I know you are. Lady Esla said, of course. Um, Pampering no de asem beba. Hey, okay. Janelle said, not receiving fatherly, I guess not receiving fatherly love is definitely a factor as to why maybe some people want to get, married or want to get into that relationship to receive the love from the man. Hello, Pastor Norris, we see you. Janelle also said, and society definitely pressure you to feel like you have to be married, which is not good. Absolutely. Lady Esla, please, your tree I can't read, so if I skip the tree, please forgive me. Pastor Linda said her line keeps break. Oh yes, we fixed that. Lady Esla, look down, no, oh yeah, yeah, so looking down upon women who are not married, absolutely. Lady Sister Linda said sometimes you are even tagged. Yep. Purposeful marriage, yes. So Krystyl mentioned about purposeful marriage, and Krystyl, I guess what you said is really really clicking the ears of other people. So yes, purposeful marriage definitely goes. Sister Esla said marriage shouldn't be pressure. Yes, Janelle said definitely not is guaranteed at all. Um, yes, yeah. So Esmond, Esmond said, which is something that we can talk about right now. I realized that when ladies become more educated, they lose the desire to be someone's wife. Agree or disagree with facts, please. Ladies, this is what our brother Esmond, who was one of the guests in the last 2 weeks for the men's edition, he said, I realize when ladies become more educated, they lose the desire to be someone's wife. Agree or disagree? And please make sure you back it up with some facts. Now, let's go, ladies. What you got to say about this? Do you believe it's true or not true?
So I will start, and I will first say that I highly disagree. See, the power of education starts like this: we gain freedom in the mind. Um, the more you know, the more you are held accountable for what you know. So I guess we can say that the 20th century woman knew, but she wasn't confident in what she knew. So she valued her husband's knowledge over hers. And what's happening now in this 21st century is that we know we've been fortunate enough to be educated. And I know he's speaking with respect to, like, degrees and things like that. But I don't think it's a matter of the degrees shaping us to not want to be wives. But it's more of we know what we know and we're confident in what we know. And because we are confident in what we know, we also know how we should be treated and how we want to be treated. So the 21st century man believes that when we stand up for ourselves and when we are opinionated and when we're able to say no when we disagree, it means that we don't want to be wives. And that's not the actual fact. Education there's no correlation. Okay, maybe there could be, but I'm talking about in Christendom, there shouldn't be any correlation between levels of degrees as compared to marriage or wanting to be like wives. I think um, maybe in the world that can be something, but in the kingdom, it shouldn't be a thing. So it's not a matter of women being educated and not wanting to be wives. It's a matter of, do you see her as a woman who's not a wife because she's not fully following you like a dog and allowing you to, or allowing everything you say to go? I think that's what the question should be, rather.
Interesting. So one more comment, then we move to the next one. Who wants to take this?
I think I'll speak.
Go ahead.
So the biblical definition of a wife is actually a helpmate. And in the 21st century, what better way for a woman to help than an educated woman who knows what she's talking about? You're a man, you're educated, you've gone far. Would you rather a woman that is also educated that can match your level of intelligence when it comes to um, when it comes to theoretical things? Or would you rather a woman that is sat at home, doesn't know what's going on? You're taking her to functions and she can't even alter a word when it's talking on the table. Pick and choose, Mr. Esmond. No, I'm not addressing you personally. I'm just addressing the situation, the
No,
question.
no, I
I think
understand. Don't worry.
I think it's important that men understand that being educated does not stop you from being a wife. In fact, it
Mm,
increases your ability to be a better wife. It increases the ability for you to be a better wife in many aspects, in many areas. Because being a wife is not about just cleaning, cooking, and raising children. There's a lot more to that. It's about pushing your aspirations, your dream, your vision, our vision to a different place. How do we do that? A woman that understands a bit of marketing, a woman that understands how to carry herself, efficacy, a woman that understands how to read, how to understand certain things. It's a win-win for me. But I don't know why men are so should I say the men of these days are so fixated on a woman being less when it comes to educational background. I don't understand it. I feel like it's a plus if a woman is educated. It adds to you, it adds value to your life. So that's where
I
I
have
am with
something
it.
I need to say when you finish about this.
okay, okay.
Go
So,
ahead, sis.
so
Because I know you
I
said the
just
last.
want to. Okay, go.
Yeah, were you finished, Anna? I'm sorry. I jumped in only because there was like a break, and then I thought that Pastor Anita was gonna
No,
go
it's
on, but I
fine.
want
Go
to.
ahead.
Okay, okay. I promise it's gonna just be short. I Education is not just formal education. Education can be knowledge and awareness, right? There are a lot of women who are not necessarily educated higher level, like college and master, uh, what is it called? Bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD, and all those things. And there are still men with those women who are purposeful, chasing after their dreams. Perhaps they don't have a degree, but they're successful and they're still intimidated. So, are you actually intimidated by her education, or are you intimidated by the fact that she's aware, and being aware means that certain things you won't be able to get away with? She is going to give you pushback, she is going to help to guide, she is going to help to supply, she is going to help. So like our sister here was saying, like it is a plus that she's educated, but education is not only formal education. Education can be knowledge and awareness. A person that reads a lot is not necessarily a person who went to school to read. A person who not only communicates well, but understands the communication that's being communicated. You understand what I mean? So I know a lot of women who are not necessarily educated, like college degree. Maybe they have high school, but they decided to go maybe real estate. They decided to go maybe start their own business. They started to do something, right? And then they're also active in the ministry, right? I also know women who are not formally educated, who are leaders in the church, who are literally trailblazers and doing a lot of things. And men are still very intimidated by that. So I don't necessarily feel like it's a formal education thing. I think it's a woman standing in who she is and being confident in that that's intimidating.
Mm,
Yeah, I agree.
wow. Interesting. So interesting. I see a lot of, well, it looks like all the women, 90% of the women disagreed with our brother's question or submission. So I guess this, we are the 21st century woman. But I really appreciate how you guys are speaking with boldness and you're speaking with passion and everything. But my question to you ladies is, what does the 21st century's definition, woman's definition of submission? What is the 21st century's woman definition of submission? Because is it the same as other people's submissions, or definition of submission, or is it different because you are in the 21st century? Because I think that is where the some men are coming from. It's not really about your degree, but it's about your level of submission, because there is a correlation, and I've seen it before, that especially when the woman is more educated than the man, So it's different if they're both educated. But let's say the woman is more educated than the man. There is some level of, like, maybe you guys can call it confidence, walking in your identity and knowing who you are. But then there's a I feel like, is there a thin line between confidence and and just saying that I'm not going to submit? So yeah, so help me to understand, what is the definition of submission from the 21st century woman? And then the other question is, what comes first, love or submission? So 21st century women,
For a
Okay.
what
woman,
is the definition of
So
I
submission?
think the
yeah,
wife.
so I would say that submission is when I can afford a trip to Hawaii and you tell me not to go and I say I won't go because I love you. Submission is in terms of when I think I can afford something for myself, but for the fact that it will intimidate you, I try to reason with you at every stage of whatever that we have to do. And I think that it's about time men have that independent mind of appreciating the woman that have been given to them or they meet so that they can be able to love them for who they are. Because women they were created by God, we were created by God. We have that willpower, we have that strength, and we have ability to think, and we have the ability to help. But one thing that a woman who is more educated can do to a man is to help him be at par and also look better in front or in the midst of people. So when I say I love you, I would want to open up and share everything with you. But when you tell me that because I'm more educated or I have more money, I cannot, some people will just use that as a level of intimidation and stop you from being who you have to be. But in the name of, are you sure you love me? If you love me, I don't think you will do this. But the submission is about having that independency and always remembering that I have you on my side and I believe that you trust me enough to be able to take some decisions and achieve them.
Interesting, interesting. Lady K, I know you wanted to say something in terms of the
No, no, no. I was
submission.
actually nominating our sister who's recently married. You said she's recently married, right?
No, no, no. She's been married for 5 years. She's a veteran.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, that's I was nominating her. I wanted to hear what
Oh,
she
you
was
wanted
gonna
to hear
say.
what she? Yes. Okay. So I'm curious to know Cessina's definition of submission.
I'm
21st
still
century
gathering
lady.
I will speak on this, but I'm still gathering my thoughts. So if you can please come back to me.
Okay, no, no problem. So let me just read a couple of. So Ahima Ipia said, women, oh, we women do all, yes. And I think sometimes the men are intimidated because there's a statement that, oh, what men can do, women can do better. And to be honest, I definitely, okay. Let's talk about gender roles.
Mm, mm,
Hmm.
mm, mm,
let's
mm.
let's let's go back to submission.
let's talk.
There's a
Let's
good
talk
question in
about
the
this.
comments too.
But oh, there was a question in the comments. Okay, because
Why
there's a
does
lot of
21st
comments.
century women? Oh, this phone just cut me out. It says, why does 21? I mean, excuse me. Why does 21st century woman? No, why does 21st century women not want to marry a 21st century man of God, pastor or aspiring pastor?
Okay, so I guess let's go there. Why does a 21st century woman not want to marry a 21st century man of God? I thought it was the other way
Okay, she
around
thought it was
because
the other way around. Yeah.
2020. So, Crystal, which way are you thinking it is?
Like, what side is it that they
Yeah,
desire or
you
they
you
don't
said
desire? Is that
you
what you're asking
you
me?
said you thought it was the other way around. So which way are you
No, no,
talking
no. I
about?
was saying that you thought that it was the other way around. However, but just to answer the question, I feel like I don't think it's that they don't want to. In fact, we hear more about them wanting to. But
Exactly.
as I was alluding to earlier, I don't necessarily feel like some of them want to be married to the man. They want to be married to the ministry and the idea of being
The title.
up that title and that position. I think they want to marry the position, especially like women who are on fire for Christ, and they think and feel they have a calling, and they too are doing things, moving and shaking, and then they're like, oh, you know what, because I'm on fire for Christ, the only one that can match my fire is a man of God, right? And so they want the idea of it, but not necessarily knowing what it takes to really, because if we're gonna have to go back to submission, because if you are
Mm,
struggling to submit to your husband, when you show up in church, we have to go
Mm,
back to submission, because that position
we
in
do.
itself can cause you to be very prideful, because some people want positions and titles because of what people might have said in the past they couldn't do, the challenges that they thought, the complexes of they don't want to be serving under certain people, or they don't want to serve necessarily, or they want to be the one that you know I don't understand. I don't know necessarily how to say it, but it's this bigness, it's this pride, it's this idea of I want to lead, biting off more than you can chew sometimes.
mm.
I want to
As
say things, but I don't know if I'm privy to really say things,
No,
because
I
no,
completely,
I
I
would
get what you
there's some
mean.
first ladies I know. There's some first ladies that I know of, not necessarily know personally, that just forget it. Let's go.
Personally,
yes, go ahead, Anna. Go ahead.
I feel like what Crystal's trying to say is there are a lot of people that want the title, but they don't really understand what the job entails, what it
Like
really
married.
entails to be married and to be in ministry with this person that you're married to. It is different when you're married to, you will obviously be a Proverbs 31 woman where you are praying for your family and all those kind of stuff. But as soon as you marry a man of God, like a minister, I mean, somebody with his own church, or even just a minister of God, there is a different type of grace that you need to carry. And they don't see that side of things. They only
Excuse
see
me.
the whole, oh, first lady, let me hold your bag. First lady, have you eaten? Oh, first lady,
Honor.
this is the food. First lady and, you know, the pastor 777, right? But what they don't know is the warfare that you will encounter, the type of prayers you will be praying.
Excuse me.
Your mate sleeping, you will be up praying. You are not just praying for your family, you are praying for your congregation. You are praying for the people that your husband or your spouse are called to. The funny thing is, when two shall become one, they say that, oh, it's not your calling. But if anything, you will bear burden. Why? Because even in the Bible, Adam was given the purpose of being a caretaker of the world, being a steward. And Eve was the helpmate to that. So whatever the man's purpose is, whatever the man's calling is, you will now be a helpmate. That's your fasting prayers. That means, yeah, that means your spiritual warfare is now triple what you would have normally had. That means you will be in prayer, you will be serving. Number one. The funny thing is, most of these first ladies now think, I'm a first lady, everybody should serve me, everybody should, pick my bag and all this kind of stuff. But what they fail to realize is that Jesus first served as a leader. So you must also first serve. There's a lot of service and a lot of sacrifices. You are sharing your husband, not only with your children, but with his family and plus your congregation.
You should be ready to be
You
accommodative.
yeah, you should be ready to be very accommodative. You should be ready to hold your tongue when necessary. You can't just speak anyhow. You can't just dress anyhow. You can't carry yourself anyhow. There is more to marrying a man of God than what just meets the eye. There are spiritual things that need to be established before you marry a man of God. It is not a bag that somebody will hold for you and say, "Oh, first lady, come and sit at the front." That means not. That is surface level nothing. That is nothing compared to what the job really is. And above all that, even though you are helping your husband with this congregation, you cannot neglect your duties as a wife. You need to make sure that your home is in order. You need to make sure that your children have eaten, your husband has eaten, everybody has eaten, all clothes, dryer, everything. Everything needs to be done. Plus, on top of the ministry things. So I think it's very important that people really understand what exactly it really entails for you to marry a man of God. You cannot just say, "Oh, he's the one that's called. It's not me that was called." It doesn't work that way. Because God gave him the mandate and he made you the helpmate to it. You cannot stand before God and say, "I didn't get the calling." No, you got the calling to support the calling. So that's all that I have to say for now.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much,
She spoke very
Annalisa.
well for me.
Yes, thank you so much, Anna, for that
You're
submission.
welcome, sis.
I think let me go back to the comments because with a question that Krystyl just asked from the comments that she received, why does 21st century woman don't want to marry 21st century man of God? Nana Harrison said, "Can it be because they want to be able to slay all these
But
slay queens?"
you can slay as a congregate member.
Of course, you can slay as a first lady, but you just have to have a certain level of slaying, because yeah, if you take it to the other
Really?
side, then it becomes a problem. But yes,
It's
slay
gonna be
with
a problem
wisdom.
either way though.
Slay with wisdom. But then what is our definition of slaying though? We're not talking about slay queens. We're talking about slay
Hmm.
first ladies.
Hmm. That's a whole topic,
but
Pastor Lisa.
Yeah.
but yes, that's the whole topic because I think the other topic is what is the expectation of a first lady in terms of dressing, in terms of
Hmm.
talking, because it looks like when it comes to even women in ministry or even women who are married to their men in ministry, there is a certain level of expectation. So most of them are in that position, but they are acting, they are not themselves, right? Because the expectation that has been set is like, I have to live up to a certain standard. So I can't even talk a certain way. I can't even act a certain, I can't even behave a certain way because everyone is looking. So you're looking at first ladies who are stiff in their position, and it becomes. I mean, how long are you going to be stiff in that? So, please, this first lady thing is a calling. Please, it's a calling. Oh, it is a
It's
calling.
a calling.
God has not called
Serious
you.
one
Don't bring yourself in line, please.
at
I
all.
have a question though. What if the person? What if I'm really unclear about this? What if the husband is a pastor and the woman of God, the woman he's married, is also a pastor or called to ministry? Um, which one? How does that role get played? Like, does she? How does she? How do like the both of them? There can be two leaders in one place like that. You know what I mean? There can be two bulls in a pen, right? So both of you have a calling. The wife is still required to submit to her husband. And also, would she be considered the first lady of the church or additional? Like, let's say they're both pastors. Not saying that they're one is an apostle and one is a pastor, but like, let's just say they're both operating in the pastoral role. And like, what? How does that work in ministry? Is she a
You
first lady
know,
or is she?
So
go ahead.
in marriage, it's in marriages basically it's about the two of you, and then the two must understand as and when the balance is needed. So most of the times, if you married him already a pastor, then yours is to be praying behind the scenes for him, and he's preparing a sermon. You support in that, and one way or the other, you complement each other. So some of the pastor in Ghana called Pastor Mensa Otavel, he says he always replays his sermons and then have a conversation with wife on what she thinks went well and went off. And sometimes today, one thing that the 21st century pastors are doing is to give their women a voice. So you realize that Hayward Mills has given Adelaide is perfect. She has the wonderful ministry and she has a role and she's playing it perfectly well. So I think it's about the two of them appreciating and complimenting each other. But some of the women that go into these marriages with the quote and unquote the beauty of being the first ladies get overwhelmed with what the duties are, because now you get to share your husband with the most beautiful ladies coming into the church, because they all have they need him to give him them answers to their problems. And now you have other women trying. Sometimes you sit at the back and you feel as if your husband is being taken away. One of the pastors in Ghana would also, Sarkodie says that in his ministry, the first year, the beginning of every year, as a wife, you don't have access to him.
Mm.
So you have to be prepared. Anytime he has to do his waiting or anything, are you ready to allow him to go into that preparation period just to be able to minister, and are you ready to also compliment and pray more for him? So it's all about the balance and the two of you understanding each other and making sure that each of you help each other in that ministry. It even happens in our homes when you have children and you always think that when it comes to caning, it has to be the daddies, but when it comes to pampering, it has to be the moms. No, when the two of you have one voice, it helps with the balance. So I think that when it comes to the ministry, we need to see where each other falls and use that to the benefit of Christ in whatever ministry we are called for.
I think I would say that it's not a competition.
At all.
It is a pulpit. It is two different callings. You're called to be a pastor, I'm called to be a pastor. It is our platform. How we decide to share it should be something is that's the reason why the Lord has given us partnership, right? We should be able to come to an agreement on how we're going to share it. One cannot outweigh the other. It is not about who preaches the best, who preaches the longest, who preaches the shortest, whose messages are powerful, whose messages are quite meek and to the gentle. It doesn't work that way. It is one ministry. How you do it is why God has put you together as husband and wife. You need to be able to balance the thing properly, as my sister said. You need to balance it properly. I think the there's a level of wisdom in there's a prophetess and an apostle that are married together. And if you see their ministry, you can see her submission to her husband, even in their ministry. And that doesn't mean that her voice has been closed. She is a powerhouse. She the way she even introduces her husband to come and preach will show her that level of submission. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she can't stand on a pulpit and preach because her husband has also been called as a pastor. Absolutely not. It is not a competition. It is another way in which the Lord wants you to navigate with your partner on how to share, how to balance things accordingly so that His will be done, not our will, not how we want things to be done in His church. It's His will, how He wants things to be done in His church. So if I'm just throwing it out there as advice that if anybody's really getting married to anybody like that or is married to anybody like that, they have the similar kind of situation, it's really important that you just pray to God and the Holy Spirit to help you dissect ways in which you can both be relevant on that pulpit without having to outshine each other or compete against each other. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Krystyl, that was a very powerful and a very interesting question, because as the question was coming, I was kind of reflecting on my, Pastor Richmond and I's dynamics. And I'm like, wow, how does this how does this
I
play
didn't
out?
even
And
think about
the
that.
interesting,
Yeah.
huh?
I said
What did you say?
I didn't even think about that. That escaped me too. That's true. Can you
You
give
know,
us some insight on it?
hey, are you
Mm.
interviewing me or am I
Yes.
interviewing?
You are a 21st century
I'm loving. I
woman.
know, right? I'm loving this conversation. I'm loving. But I just want to give you guys the opportunity to speak. But like Portia and um Anna rightfully said, it's not a competition, right? My pastor, Reverend Cephas Kafui, said, "You guys are powerful together. Together, you guys are powerful, and so don't think that one is better than the other. I think that especially when two people are in ministry and they're married, of course it's not easy, that there is going to be some tension sometimes, especially in terms of, let's say, it's not even in preaching, but it's even in appearance, or sometimes it's in when someone is being called to go minister somewhere. As a woman, let me just read what Linda said, because I think it's very, very profound. She said both partners being pastors doesn't stop the woman to submit to the man. It's an order from God for the woman to submit to the husband. Pastoralship ends in the church, on the pulpit, not in marriage. That is so
Mm-hmm.
true, because there have been times where, as a woman, of course, my husband and I, we are both parents, but there are certain times when I have to step back and allow my husband to go and minister at places, and for me to take care of the children. I could have easily said, no, no, I want to go. But I realized, if you go and you shine, it's on us. If I go
Yeah.
and I shine, it's on us. So no matter who is speaking on that pulpit, it has to be a reflection on both of us, right? And then there are
It is.
certain, and I think what makes it a little easier is the fact that when you recognize that your wife is also in ministry and you go somewhere to minister, it is only nice that you, as the man, also
Also
acknowledge your wife.
acknowledge.
But I know some
Mm-hmm.
people that they will go and stand on the pulpit and preach. They've been invited, and they will just acknowledge, the people that brought them to the church, and their wife is sitting there, and it's not even
Yeah.
not even one acknowledgement. And
Minus
sometimes,
me.
yes, it may, and sometimes it may be like you
Amen.
have forgotten which makes sense. But I think, as long as the woman knows that you know who she is and you appreciate her. Sometimes Pastor Richmond will ask me, or I will even ask Pastor Richmond, I'm going to preach somewhere, so help me to come up with this sermon. What do you think about this? How does this sound? Sometimes you feel like, oh, put more this into it, or, and even after he's done preaching, oh, Anita, how did I do? It's about
Mm-hmm.
partnership. It's about, but
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, there are certain times where sometimes it's like, okay, you're telling me to sit, and I really, like, this is the time I feel like I have a message, or I
I'm
want
on
to do
fire.
this. And yes, and it's like, that's where the submission come. And I know, and I think submission is easier when you know that the person who is leading you means well for you,
Mm-hmm.
that even in their no, it's not an insult, or it's not like they're trying to suppress you, but they mean well for you. And I think when we come to that realization, it will be easier for us, because the reason why we are able to submit to God is because we have the track record of God, and we know what God is able to do. We know that his plans for us are good and are perfect, right? So it's not like his plans for us is evil, where we are not really sure what's gonna happen. So I think that in relationship, it's about trust, it's about communication. I don't want to take too much time, but let me throw it back to my
May
guest.
I say something,
Yes,
Pastor Anita?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, the reason why I've been very quiet, because obviously I'm the youngest in this group, and I don't say it as a to say anything, but I say it simply because when it comes to submission, I guess I can only speak from submission with regards to my parents, like submitting to my parents' authority and power. And I feel like it's a whole different kind of submission when it's your parents. Well, maybe I can be wrong, but I've been very quiet about it, and I didn't want to speak much on it because I'm not married, right? And I don't like to speak much on things that I don't have full understanding of. But with everything that everyone's saying, it is true that submission is you actively choosing to not give your power, but yield yourself or yield to authority or to someone who has power over you. Which in this case, when it comes to marriage, is our husbands, our head, our high priest. But then you asked the question was something about, do you love to submit or
What comes first,
What
love
comes
or
first?
what comes
submission?
first, submission or love? And I just wanted us to go back to that because I think that's very important. I think now a lot of 21st century men want us to submit and then they love us. And they don't understand, like, you need to love us into submission. I think I was having a conversation with somebody, and we spoke about how sometimes you don't want to be so hard all the time. I feel like being in this 21st century, listen, it's hard everywhere. The seasons be seasoning us. Like, you just be going through things, and it's a lot. Everyone's going through stuff, and sometimes you don't want to have a guard up. You just want a place where you can be safe and be vulnerable. And I think what's happening now is the men of our age, they don't allow us to be vulnerable. They don't open up that space for us to be girly. See, the 21st century woman, she is bold, she's efficient. She's not afraid to um, get work done. Like, I can say that most of them don't allow their emotions to get in the way. They hustle, like, not hustling in a bad way. Like, I mean, we're fighters and we get the work done no matter what. So I guess what I'm saying is that what this 21st century woman wants, um, on top of the list, I would say is a man who makes us feel safe, a man who makes us feel heard, who allows us to bask in our femininity. I said that word wrong, but it's okay. To just be feminine and soft and things like that. And what's happening is that because the men are not giving us that space or creating that environment for us to be soft and vulnerable, I guess that's when the submission aspect becomes hard, where we're so hard, our hearts are hardened, and everything we're like, we have a comeback for everything. But what men don't realize is that if you create this space and you create this atmosphere where we can literally be softies, submission literally comes easier than it does when we have to legit teach ourselves. So I strongly believe that you love a woman into submission. But obviously, this is not biblical because, okay, well, I would say that it's not biblical to me because no matter what, our role is to submit, right? But I guess I will end there. I have more to say, but I want to gather my thoughts. So I think we should really speak
Absolutely.
about that question
We should
because we
definitely.
need it.
Which question?
The question that we
What
didn't get a
comes
chance to
first?
answer to.
What comes first?
Oh,
Love
what
or
comes? Yes.
submission?
I know. Oh my goodness, Cessina, you made a statement about love. The man must love you into submission. I love that. I love that. Um,
I agree in a
interesting.
way. I agree in a way to that because what she said about the alpha female, the women who are assertive, even a woman who ropes in her passivity, you know, um, she still has a sense of like she's a go-getter, like kind of like what Cessna was saying. However, though, I do feel like because of the way we're showing up, the men are also trying to show up to, I guess, to overcompensate, I guess, for their masculinity. Like if we're showing up like roaring lions, the man is gonna show up double that. And so sometimes when we wanna, you know, we're needy. I was having a conversation with some of my girlfriends recently, and there are times when we actually just want to let our guard down. We're needy. We want to be loved. We want to be pampered. We want to be, what do you need? What do you need? Because this whole conversation about wives, we've been talking about what the wife is doing, what the wife is going to contribute, how the wife should do this. But a lot of times when we're making that list of the kind of woman, even for the men, the type of women we want, you should ask yourself, or we should ask ourselves, what kind of person do I need to become to support that? Because if you want a woman who's going to chase after or going to go after purpose and going to help you to do these things, how will you also support? Because the fact that the Bible says, man, love your wife as Christ loved the church, woman, submit, doesn't mean that it leaves you out from the woman having to love you. And it doesn't mean that it leaves out that the man shouldn't also sometimes submit to what she needs sometimes. Submitting to what she needs doesn't mean that you're less than a man, or that you're making, or you're allowing her to rule over you. There's a give and there's a take. There's a reciprocity that needs to happen so that the support can be efficient. That when times get hard, you don't start fighting against each other, but instead you fight together against what's coming after you. And that sometimes was what tears down marriages and what tears down households and what's tearing down the very essence of the love and the marriage. Like when a woman has her menstrual, or when a woman is pregnant, hormonal, and her emotions and everything is scattered all over the place. Have you paid attention to your wife to know that even when she's not verbally communicating, she's communicating that she needs you? Can you just say, babe, can you come? Let me rub your feet. You had a long day. Or, oh, can I go with you to the doctor's appointment, even though she can go by herself? Can you take off a week and just say, it's about me and you? Can we make a week or a day that says, you know what, she's been my help, right? Help is work, right? What do you do to compensate also? In every job, there's vacation period. And I'm not saying vacation from the position or vacation from the wife, vacation from being a mother, vacation from being the helper in the marriage. But the vacation of having to hustle and bustle, you know what? I see that you're so tired. You know what? Instead of cooking, let's order out. She has to cook, she has to clean, she has to do homework, she has to show up to school activity, she has to be in church and make sure she's showing up well. She has to do this, then a third. 10 roles for one person. How about, you know what? Let me call somebody to come in and maybe do a little bit of house cleaning. That doesn't mean that she's going to become lazy and like she doesn't want to do nothing. She's kicking her feet up. But certain things to see that you want to help and you want to support the fact that she does all of these things. Not saying you're not doing anything as a man, but there needs to be a support system for the woman too. Because when she's not well mentally and she's not well emotionally, and then she starts to be thrown off spiritually, what do you have left besides argument? So we know how to talk about what the woman needs to do. But for those women that these men want, these alpha females, these women that are supportive and efficient and loving and submissive and all of that, what kind of man do you need to become so that she can be effective as your wife outside of everything else?
That is a question.
When the head start bopping, you know she in it.
Well.
Inside. I just wanna
Oh, go ahead.
can I yeah, so thank you. So I just kept thinking of the question, what comes first, love or submission? What comes first, love or submission? It just keeps ringing in my head. And I think what I've seen these days is that the men feel like the women in the 21st century cannot submit. So what they're demanding is submission first. They want to see submission first before they can say, okay, I'm releasing my love, and then I'm releasing a ring, and then I'm making you my wife. They are trying to see if you can submit first. They're trying to see if you can cook first, if you can clean first. If they say yes, would you now say no? If they say one, would you now say 30? They're trying to analyze these things before they're like, right, this is the woman that I want to marry. Oh no, this one can submit. So which one comes first? I think for the man, the submission is now starting to come first. For the women like yeah, women like our dear sister says, women need to be loved into submission. And that's what we want. We want to know that you love us, so you want to lead us. And in you leading us, we are able to now submit unto you, because we know that you will not lead us astray, because you are following after Christ himself, right? So I think that's where the confusion is when it comes to which one goes first. I think it depends on which gender you are. And then you see it from two different sides, I guess.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Wow. I have been blessed. I know my audience, they have been blessed too, because the comments that are coming, I think our questions or our answers provoked some nerves. So, they're releasing it by typing and commenting. But please make sure you keep sharing, share, and like. But far too soon, we have to bring this episode to an end. I wish we can continue, but unfortunately, oh my God, we can't. But maybe, yes, maybe we will definitely bring you ladies back again to have a part two because there are so many questions that weren't answered. But yes, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on the Time of Reflection show. So, I don't even know what to say, but I have been blessed. Audience, viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. Please make sure that you share and like, and also subscribe to the Fake Broadcasters Network on YouTube as well as on Facebook as well. Thank you all for joining us for the conversation of the 21st century relationship in the 21st century. I know that you have learned a thing or two, and I just pray that whether you are a 20th century woman or whether you are a 21st century woman, the word of God the word of God has no centuries. It transcends centuries. So please let the word of God be your guiding stick. Let the word of God be your principle in terms of whether you're in a relationship, whether you're thinking about it, whatever it is, let the word of God guide you. And as a 21st century man or a 20th century man, please give your woman some grace and make sure that as long as you believe that this is the woman God has called you to be with, when they go high, you also go high. So don't see it as a competition. Don't be intimidated. But remember that if the two shall become one, then no matter where she is or no matter how far she goes, you are also there with her, and it is vice versa. So please, let's make sure that in relationship it's not a competition, but it's a partnership. It's complementing each other to make sure that we get the best out of each other and to fulfill the purpose as to why God brought you together. It's about purpose. Be purpose minded, even when you're picking friends. Be purpose minded when you are dating. Be purpose minded when you are courting. And most of all, be purpose minded in your marriage. God bless you all. And until we meet again, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Bye bye. Thank you,
Bye.
ladies. God bless you. Thank you. Bye
Thank you,
bye. Bye.
ladies. Bye.
God bless you all.